When it comes to the college football playoff, we're often left guessing what the committee is going to deem impressive. And, that made this year's playoffs a little bit tougher to predict because Tennessee, Oregon, LSU, USC all look like contenders. But after this weekend, you're starting to look at these teams and say, okay, how good is Tennessee? Will they get an opportunity again? Oregon, how good are they? The loss to Georgia, how much does that hurt? LSU with a couple of losses. USC is a couple of points away where you're going, they would be a top 5 team. Yeah, Paulie?
USC lost to Utah. It was a month ago, 43-42. I think Utah had a long drive to end the game, like a 5-minute drive, and they needed a touchdown and a 2-point conversion by rising the quarterback. Otherwise, USC is in the 4 spot undefeated, right? They would be. Totally.
But you have Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, and aside from Georgia, the top 4, they have good resumes, but it just helps being undefeated at this stage. How high does Michigan go if they beat Ohio State? What if they lose a close game to Ohio State? Can they stay in the top 4? Can Tennessee creep back in? What about TCU if they run the table? It felt like TCU was a courtesy vote last night. It was like, okay, they may not be a top 4 team. We're going to put them in, and let's see how they do against Texas. Now you got a big game this weekend in Austin, Texas, and this is where if you're TCU, now I think they've beaten 4 top 25 teams so far this year. And it's the Big 12, and that's going to hurt them a little bit. But if you run the table, it'll be hard to keep them out. But it does strike me as a few years back when TCU ran the table and we were like, how are they going to what's the logic on keeping TCU out of the top 4? It was basically just, oh man, they just missed. That's shame. And I wouldn't be surprised Texas wins this game. Yeah, Marv.
Do you think the committee's probably saying to themselves, hey, TCU, any ugly wins or no real pretty wins, you guys are out?
Yeah.
Are they like on that thin of ice?
Yeah, you got to have style points now. And then you wonder, you look at that the Oregon game against Georgia and you're thinking, all right, I know Oregon's a different team now. Is Georgia even better than they were to open up the season? You got to factor that in as well. Yes, Todd.
Now, if TCU was to win by 17, 20 points, is the committee going, uh-oh, or does it give any kind of relevance to the fact that they put them in and it wasn't just a courtesy this past week?
Well, no, they have to win big. They have to win, let's put it that way. Texas is favored.
Right, but if TCU was to win big, there may be some people they wouldn't admit it in the college football playoff committee that's like, oh, no, they don't necessarily want TCU, but they don't think of them as a top 4 team. But now that they've beat up Texas, now they have to kind of keep them there.
Yeah, you still got a few weeks here left, but yeah, if you win, I think I know what you're saying. If you win and you win in impressive fashion, then you got to stay in the top 4. Is that what you're saying?
Like they're looking for an excuse to just have TCU be there for this 1 week. And, and like Marvin was saying better than I said, to get them out of there after this 1 week.
Yeah, Paul.
Well, let's put ourselves on the committee, and what would our rationale be? Let's say TCU finishes the season undefeated, and Tennessee finishes the season with 1 loss after the season they had. Would you put Tennessee or TCU in the 4 spot? It's your choice. Remember, the committee has they have a recommended rationale. They don't have marching orders. They have to do undefeated. There's nothing like that. What would you guys do?
I would give credit to TCU for doing what you ask any team to do in your conference, and you're playing in a Power 5 conference. May not like it, but until we get to a playoff where there's 12 schools, this is what you need to do. And, we've waited for the 12-team playoff. Who knows when it's happening, but it's going to happen. But right now, you go undefeated. It'd be hard for me to go, I'm sorry, I'm going to put in a one-loss Tennessee team. Even though I would look at Tennessee as a better team, you have the human element with this committee, and you have to factor that in. Yes, Eden.
I just feel like strength of schedule is one of the most important things to consider.
Yeah.
And that, my hand goes way heavy on that scale for strength of schedule.
Yeah. So you putting in TCU undefeated or Tennessee with 1 loss?
Tennessee with 1 loss.
All right. Okay. Blue. Anybody going TCU going undefeated here? Todd?
Yeah, I'll put TCU in there. I think you can only control what's on the schedule. If you want to use that kind of weak argument, it's like we did everything we were supposed to do. This is the schedule, and we won all these games. We have not lost. What do you want? What else can we do?
Yeah.
Can't beat everybody by 50 and win every game.
All right.